Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to National Matters. Tonight, I am privileged in the studio to have one of the sons of the soil. But before I introduce him, this is National Matters. The government or parliament voted anonymously that for somebody to be an MP, he should have at least the minimum of grade 12 certificate. And a lot of issues come to mind in that demand. Could it be that it's only the educated that can lead the nation? Could it be that only those that have been to school have compassion to feed the poor, to look at the plight of the helpless society? What are we getting to? And in all these things, ladies and gentlemen, my mind went to America and Europe. There people are so educated, they have the systems in place, but still there are certain issues that they fight with. I am not against education. Hear it again. I am not against education. As a matter of fact, I am a firm believer with my wife, Pastor Victoria. We believe and we have pushed so many people to rise from grade 12 to even second, third degrees in life. And I'm so grateful to that. However, tonight we are going to have a nice time. Invite your friends, tell them, get on Facebook, get on YouTube, the whole world, and please send us your comments. Like us on Facebook, and you must be able to tick on that YouTube. And ladies and gentlemen, in the studio, I have a man that I respect so much. We've known each other for so many years. Before he married his wife, before I married my wife, we've known each other for years. This is over 35 years. But I am so privileged to have him in the studio. Professor Michael Dynamite Benson Munkumba. I had to go through all the names. Professor, welcome to National Matters.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Thank you.
How is your family?
They are permanently blessed.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I want you to look in that camera and tell the people, who is Professor Michael Munkumba? Are you a professor? Like I want to adopt one title, that Professor Chiluba. Are you a professor in that regard, or you're a professor because you have done the more pages and you have done some work? Please look into the family, the camera, tell the church, the nation, who is Professor Munkumba, whether you are married, how many children you have. We've got to know about Professor Munkumba.
Thank you, Pastor. I will be very simple and explain it in a very simplified manner. Mm-hmm. I, like many people from my generation, we come from a very humble background. Mm-hmm. We are all, in a manner of speaking, social climbers of sorts. Born not very far away from here, in Munkumba village in Chifu Mungole. I went to Kapopo Primary School, not far from here also, not very far from Chunga and Matero, those sites. So from Kapopo School, I went to Mukushi Secondary School, from Central Province. From Mukushi Secondary School, I went to now Copperbelt University, but it was University of Zambia at Ndola campus those times, and it was called Unzando. And I was in the first group that did 4 years in that place. From Unzando, and I will just talk about schooling. I went to London School of Accountancy. The next phase was United States International University. The next was Washington. The next was Maastricht School of Management. And right now I'm still with another institute called Uraka in Switzerland, where I'm doing a postdoctoral degree, but I'm also a professor there as well. So in terms of education, I come from the village. I mean, grew up in a village, so I'm not a town person in that sense, but social climbed, if you like, to town. But really, villager growing up taking care of cattle, as it were.
And in those days, when you went to Mukushi Secondary School, it was not regarded as one of the upper.
No,
it was for the
West. I mean, the schools were St. Paul's, David Kaunda, Hillcrest, at St. Canisius. Now, these were schools. Mukushi was really for the rejects, if you like the riffraffs.
That's right.
And I don't know how I landed in that place. And by Form 3, I wanted to leave and go to St. Paul's. And the headmaster then said, if you leave, nobody may go to the university from here. So I was made to stay, and I stayed up to Form 5, and I was one of 2 people who went to university from Mukushi. It was one of the worst schools then. It improved later, but that time it was really bad.
And the point that I'm bringing, Professor, people think when you go to the best school, you are intelligent. There is this notion.
Yes.
And there are some parents who reject the government schools.
Yes.
To say, no, I can't take my children to government schools.
Yeah.
I want them to go to
Correct.
private schools.
Correct.
Where they pay thousands of dollars.
Yes.
And mostly in those schools, the children just graduate with drugs.
Correct.
They graduate with alcohol. They graduate with a lot of mischievous things.
Correct.
Whereas when somebody goes to a government school, like in your days, you went to Mukushi, you were focused to say, I must go to university.
Correct. And I'm sure we really have to, when we discuss education, we really have to dig deeper into that. What are the aims of education, and do we have it right? But back to myself, I am a married pastor. My wife is Catherine Munkumba. She's a fashion designer. We have 4 boys. So the only girl is the wife herself. So we only have boys in that home. And they're in Chamba Valley. I'm sure they are watching right now. Yes.
Now tell me, Professor, you mentioned all these universities that you've gone to. Please tell me, how many degrees have you got? That is very important for me and for Camnet TV viewers. We should not sit here and think there are people just with 1 degree or 2 degrees. How many degrees have you got?
Okay, I have 6 completed degrees, 1 incomplete, and another one that I'm doing. Now, if I can finish the incomplete one and the one I'm doing, then there'll be 8.
There will be 8?
Yes.
And when do you intend to finish them?
The one I'm doing in Switzerland has a fixed period, but so I've just been a bit lazy about it, but I know when I sit on it, I can finish it even next year. Yes.
Of those 6 degrees, how many are honorary?
None.
None?
No honorary. No honorary pastor.
No honorary degree?
No.
I know for sure that you have been studying accounts. You are a certified fellow in accounts. When you got that was many years ago from England.
1986.
1986, that's when you became a fellow. And I am looking at the many degrees that you have, among which you have done law.
That is the other one, the incomplete one, because I started doing a law degree with the Open University of Tanzania. And halfway through that, the Dutch government came up with a double degree program. They wanted us to help them research into agriculture, tourism, mining in Eastern and Southern Africa, and part of West Africa. So I looked at it, it was all paid for by the Dutch government. Whereas this other one I was doing, I was paying myself. So I jumped on that bandwagon and had to stall my law degree now. In order to do that double degree, it was a Master of Philosophy and a Doctor of Business Administration. So I jumped into that one, and it took my time. And when I finished and I wanted to go back to the law degree, then a lot of time had passed. So I really needed to gather my wits, because the law degree for me was a hobby, literally. I mean, it was not like I was wanting to be a lawyer. I just love law. I love the sounding of it. And I keep speaking these Latin words. I love them, and I admire it. I love the way they are systematic about things, the lawyers. So it was just purely out of like a hobby, yes.
Yeah.
So I still tell myself I have to do it. And because it's a hobby, there's no effort involved for me in doing law. Because I enjoy every page I read. I have all the books are there, I have them. So I still think I'll go back and finish. But then I've been debating whether I should also rather do a law in divinity or something. I mean, a degree in divinity. It's also an area I've thought, I mean, all these degrees, I don't have any biblical degree. That could be useful. So I've been back and forth.
How old are you?
I'm 60, Pastor.
60?
Yes.
Can you imagine? At 60 with 6 degrees and 2 more coming, 8 degrees, with doctorate of divinity, 9 degrees. When are you stopping to read?
This is exactly why the discussion of education becomes crucial. Because then we have to make a distinction between education and learning. Yes. So, okay, education itself is the basic word for education. Comes from 2 Latin words. One part is ex, as in ex, and the other part is ducare, Latin. And ex means out of. So, for instance, when you say export, we are exporting. Export means out of the port. So ex means out of or ahead of, depending on the context. Ducare means ignorance. So education means moving someone out of ignorance, where they can become functionally literate. Now, again, functional literacy, there are many forms of literacy, which is why even our education system, if it is to be complete, it has to address all forms of literacy, whether it's functionality. Now, functionality means after I have read and studied, what I have studied, I can use to impact my community. Then I'm functionally literate. And so we have a lot of people who are educated, but functionally illiterate, because they memorize stuff, they regurgitated in a test, they got their degree or their paper, but they are totally useless when it comes to using that knowledge to improve society.
That's
so
right.
we call those functional illiterates. And unfortunately we have many, particularly this part of the world, Africa, because we glorify certificates instead of knowledge. So we don't learn, we just, just cram to pass an exam. And so you call for an interview and basic questions cannot be answered. But this guy had A's in the exam. But the exam is merely a barometer to test, did this person really understand? It's a very imperfect system, the tests and exams. It's totally imperfect. But we don't have a better one so far, so we still stick with it. We need a different way of gauging learning. So functional literacy, you can have emotional literacy, you can have financial literacy. So there are all kinds of literacy, cultural literacy. So when a student comes out of school, we need to test. Are they functionally literate? Are they culturally literate? Are they financially literate? I mean, can they impact their society? Then we'll be talking about real, not just out of ignorance, but learning. And learning is lifelong. Never, ever stop learning. I can graduate from a university, but I cannot graduate from learning. And so I can go to school because this is the straight, formalized way of learning. But there are many ways of learning. And it's possible to find someone who has not been to school, but if they've read good books and they've been mentored by guys who are wise, they may even be more functional than a graduate. But school system happens to be the best formalized system of imparting knowledge. Not the only one. And so the issue you raised about is grade 12 the big thing, and I think in Kenya they had first degree. If you are going to stand for member of parliament, you needed a degree. The way I look at that, for me, grade 12 is not a magical qualification. That as soon as you hit grade 12, something happened and voila, you were a leader or something. No, but it's just that we are looking at, given the sophistication of society now, can this person be able to lead and influence the transformation of society with all these complexities now? So one way is to say, okay, have you been to school? Because in all that school does, and pastor, the things we learn in school become obsolete very quickly.
They do, eh?
Because the knowledge you memorized, there are now new books, new things. That knowledge is totally useless. And there's a lot of things we learned in school, pastor, which we will never use. Quadratic equations. I've never gone back to them. But they massage your brain.
That's right.
So that you are able to adapt in situations. And that's why the school system should prepare people to become agile, that they can adapt in any situation. If they cannot adapt in situations, then all they did was memorize very useless knowledge, because within 4 years it's meaningless. So, yeah.
I want to come to that, Professor.
Yes.
You mentioned something which is very cardinal.
Correct.
That here in Africa, this part of the world,
Correct.
we put more emphasis on paper
Yes.
than the ability to perform.
Correct.
One of my cousins has been living in the UK for some time now.
Yes.
He was the first student at the University of Zambia, Copperbelt, to hammer distinctions.
Okay.
And this chap was one of the best students in metallurgy, and he joined Nkana as a metallurgist.
Okay.
So during that time, he was training the experts, the expatriates. They would come, he's training them. But the salary was, the difference between his salary and the people he was training,
was huge.
Was like East and West.
Yes, because they had what was called inducement allowance.
Inducement allowance.
In US dollars.
Yeah. So
plus a local salary.
He got frustrated.
Yeah.
And he left the country. One of the best brains Zambia has is in the UK. But here's the deal. This is what you mentioned.
Correct.
He said to my wife and I, when we were there with them in Exeter, he said, you know, Pastor, I've come to learn that Africa labors a lot on things which do not matter. Because here, this part of the world, the degrees don't mean anything.
Yeah.
Here it's performance.
Correct.
You find that with all my degrees and qualifications, I report to somebody who has not even finished school, but he has got the ability to perform.
He has emotional literacy. You are able to work in a team amicably. You can unify a team and make it deliver. They will look at those things primarily. And Pastor, with education, we had a huge conference in Kenya. Many countries came there. There were like 2,000 delegates. And the president was a guest of honor. And I was one of the keynote speakers on the future of work. How will the future look like? Conclusion, a lot of our schools are preparing kids, students, pupils, for jobs that will not be there in 15 to 20 years' time.
Really?
Yes. Because of artificial intelligence and all these technologies that are coming. A lot of our jobs will be taken over by artificial intelligence. So what kind of skills will we need in that future? That's what our schools, and what kind of format of schooling. So the system the model we were discussing at that conference, in fact 2 conferences I attended in Kenya, both of them. One was with the Teacher Service Commission there, and the other one was government itself and the Curriculum Development Institute. The discussion was, look, when you bring kids right in preschool, you put them down there. The start is the teacher. The teachers have to cease being teachers. They should become facilitators of learning. The knowledge in the teacher's head no longer exists. The knowledge is on this phone. Anyone, any kid can access it. In fact, you can say something and the kid says, I'm sorry, sir, but Google says. and you didn't know it. So just regurgitating knowledge is no longer useful because it's here. So you have to find a way of making kids learn. So you put them down there, and the conclusion was the teacher should begin to identify the kids and to cluster them, one, in their areas of interest, and two, according to their speed of learning. So if you see kid dancing all the time, you know this is an artist, he's probably going to be a musician, put there. Put the others who are like that one. Drawing, they belong there. Okay? This kid is playing with all kinds of pieces of metal, you know this is probably an engineer, begin to put them in. So they are clustered according to their interests. This one, you know, biology, probably medical doctor or something, or in future they will not be medical doctors, they'll be called medical mentors. Yeah, then there will be very few, because the rest is a nurse and a machine and she can do it. So you begin to cluster them. And then those who are fast learners, put them separate. And the slow learners, put them together. So you leave no pew behind. You frustrate none of them. And then you bring in a lot of artificial intelligence gadgets. Yeah, so virtual reality, augmented reality, the things you wear goggles and you can say, let's go down the mine in Muvurira or something. And the Muvurira mine comes and the kid can see it, and you actually go underground. It's like real, and you are teaching them. And the whole idea was, by the time a child leaves school, no employer should ask for experience in the area they've been studying. Because when they say, I want 5 years experience, 3 years experience, they are really saying the school system did not do anything. So I can't take you, sorry, you are not ready. So what was I doing for 20 years in school if I need experience to join work? So prepare them to be ready for work on day one. And the school system has never changed. It's one of the most resistant places to change. And those of us who are called professors are even the worst resistors. We still want people to take as long as it took us to get a degree. That's how long it should take them. But maybe we got hours when there was no library on the phone. You actually had to get on a bus to go to a library.
That's right.
And when you sent your thesis to a supervisor, you posted it. It took weeks to arrive and weeks to come back, but a few months for him to read hard paper. But now when I supervise my doctoral students, it's online. I can tell him I'll give it back to you in an hour or two. Same day, I send it back. So why should it take 10 years? So the education system must be functional, meaning you are preparing people not just for their own knowledge and self-empowerment, but to impact their society. If it's not doing that, it's a waste of time. It would even be better if parents were preparing their kids. But we know school system has a place. So make it pay. And so yeah, we talk about education, yeah, it's ignorance. Move people from ignorance, but make them functional. All round.
Professor.
Yes, Pastor.
I want to ask, when the government, when members of parliament say we need grade 12 as minimum.
Okay.
Me as a pastor, when I sit down, I begin to go through the scriptures, then I discover that the heart of man is corrupt.
Yes.
Above all things.
Desperately wicked.
Desperately wicked. So if somebody has a degree,
yes,
he has a PhD,
yes,
and he has, like you have 6 degrees, 8 degrees.
Yes.
Question.
Yeah.
Does education change someone's character?
No. Not necessarily. So the answer would be yes and no. Because character starts to be built in the house, in the home, from our parents. Education will give you knowledge here. If you are a thief, education won't stop you from being a thief.
Correct.
If you disrespect people, education won't stop you. Unless in the learning you are told that it's better to respect others and you kind of obey it. But if you're already bent on disobeying that, that will not change anything in me. I grew up in a village, Pastor, where stealing was really frowned upon, and your name meant everything, and to mess up the family name was really terrible. My parents were keeping money for all the villagers around. That
Here at Mongole.
That already speaks to character. It means they could trust you to keep their money and it will be safe. my father went as far as, now it would be grade 3. It was standard 1 at that time. But all the way to his death, he could write, read. My mother, I think, went into sub B. She reads her Bible up to now, and she's in her 80s.
And that is, they had that godly character.
Yes, that was taught right in. Do you remember, Pastor, growing up, if you mess up in the street, any adult who comes by will beat you up in the village. And if you run home crying, they say, what happened? So-and-so beat me. What did you do? This. The parent also beats you. So everybody was a parent.
Everybody.
And I recall one time I'm taking care of cattle, and 2 old people passed by, and I went and greeted them as we were taught to greet. You know, you bend your knee.
You knew, yeah.
As they were going up to today, Pastor, it's embedded in my hypothalamus, in my memory. One of them said, that young man will go very far.
Really?
I remember it up to now, and I think I was in class 2, primary school.
Grade 2.
Yes.
And
It was that time it was sub B.
Yeah, this young man
will go far. Why? Because they could see character forming.
And those were not your parents?
They were not. They were just in the village. They could see character forming. Where did it start from? From my parents. The teacher came to augment. And the teachers those days also, I mean, they were the role models. They were respectful.
And you worked for Zambia Airways before it was liquidated as a financial what?
Okay, the big story is I briefly worked at Bank of Zambia as a student during breaks, and Barclays Bank. When I came from university, I went to Indeco Limited, Indeco Central. From Indeco Central, I was seconded to Zambia Sugar in Ndola. I moved to Deloitte. From Deloitte, I came to Zambia Airways. I came as a revenue accountant to Zambia Airways, and I think a year later, I was made general manager for revenues. So general managers, then you have directors, and you have the managing director. So I was at the 3rd level.
So you didn't steal any Zambia Airways? We need to know this.
What was fascinating was, by the way, up to now, I regret the collapse of that airline. I've never gotten over it. In fact, years later, we nearly started an airline with Captain Mulundika. Yes. We even went to Boeing. They accepted the model, and we were about to get the aircraft. Then the fuel prices went through the roof, and our model collapsed. Because we were, I think even Captain Mulundika never quite got over that. He wanted to. So no, Pastor, that airline was good. I left 5 years before it fell. But it had so many assets compared to the debt.
At the time, they liquidated Zambia Airways. I think we were doing better than Kenya Airways and Ethiopia Airlines.
I mean, Ethiopian Airlines was a partner. We used to train their pilots at this airport here in Zambia. All Ethiopian Airways pilots came to Zambia. They would be trained here. ZAST, and then with Zambia Airways, they go back there. Kenya Airways couldn't be compared to us that time. Remember, Pastor, we were already flying to New York. Yes. Kenya Airways just started, I think, 2 years ago going to New York. For us, we were already in New York that time.
Where did we go wrong?
I think the whole privatization era, and I am pretty well versed about the privatization era, Pastor. Because when I went to a summit in East Africa, I was in charge of training privatization with the Commonwealth in London. So it was funded by the London Commonwealth Fund, and we were bringing all Africans from South Africa to Nigeria. They would come to Arusha in Tanzania, and I would be the one chairing that training for directors or board members and managing directors who would be going into privatization. So I really understand. I see a lot of write-ups on privatization online, and I can see most of the people writing are either younger, they grew up later after all that process, so the context is missing. But me, I look back, I usually just smile, because I was into that thing. I could see what was going on. I could see the role of the World Bank, the IMF, the so-called international community, and the role they were playing. And of course, then there was a transformation from the command economy to the free markets. And it was sweeping across the world. And everybody was swept along. Zambia was even scored as one of the best privatizing countries by the World Bank that time. Because they were looking at the quantity of companies privatized. So the bigger the number, the better you were doing. We were even scored as one of the best. But nobody was looking at what was the goal of all this, and were we achieving this, and under what pressure were governments working to privatize? Was this something they really just wanted to do? And if they did, was this a methodology they would have loved to adopt? Just privatize left, right, and center? So the context is very murky. But most people who go to social media to post, they don't have the context. They don't have the history. They don't have the full picture. So it's like the 7 blind men who touched an elephant. So whoever touched an ear said it is like a banana leaf. Who touched the leg, he said it's like a tree trunk. So, but if you put all of them together, you may get a rough picture. But if you were there that time, and I mean I was in Indeco, and I detest the closure of Indeco Limited and all the group of companies that we had. Mansa Batteries, Rucom Industries, Pineapples, Kawambwa Tea, Lenko, Lusaka Engineering Company. Those are, I used to audit those companies. They are in my heart. And I feel so bad that they went. But I understand the context under which it happened. It was for us a lose-lose situation. We wish we could have done it differently, really.
During that time, you remember some years my wife and I came to our family.
Yes.
We came to visit you in Arusha.
Correct.
And when, after some time being with you, when we came for a holiday, I don't think you remember that you gave me the cards.
Okay.
Because Zambia is in my heart. I can tell you, this heart,
It carries Zambia.
it accommodates the bigger picture is Christ.
Yes.
But somewhere
Yes.
in the corner
Yes. It's Zambia.
I am 100% Zambian. And when I sit like this, I look at things that go wrong.
Yes.
I asked you, Professor, what you are doing here in Esame
Yeah.
and training all these
Yes.
Zambians, permanent secretaries,
Yes.
which we should talk about.
Yes,
You
please.
are training all these people from
Correct.
around the world, and you are a visiting professor.
Yes.
I asked you to say, give me some business cards. You remember?
So to go and
To go and give out. And I got some business cards. I came to President Chiluba. I said, I phoned you. I said, I've given the card to President.
President Chiluba. Yes.
I said, sir, we have brains out there.
Yes.
We have people, not just grade 12s, who can help in this nation.
Correct.
Here is Professor Munkum.
Yes.
And President Chiluba was so happy to receive that, and the rest is history. May his soul rest in peace. But really, if we were serious people,
Yeah.
I, for one,
Yes.
I would not go for grade 12s.
Yes.
I would go for people, because I like what my wife says. Knowledge is in 2 schools.
Correct.
That's what she says. Number 1 school is the natural knowledge.
Yes.
When you're growing up, like those adults told you, this boy will go far.
Yes.
They saw something which
Yes.
the professor could not see.
Yes.
And there is also the knowledge which you acquire through Copperbelt University,
Correct.
which you now have.
Yes.
So to have these 2,
Yeah.
it's an asset.
Yes.
When you have the natural world,
Yes.
wisdom,
Yes.
and also
The schooling.
the school,
Yes.
this put together,
Correct.
we can turn
Yes.
this economy around.
I agree.
Because, Professor, I cannot claim, no matter how anointed I am, if the President, Dr. Chagwalongo, appointed me to be Bank of Zambia governor,
Yeah,
what do you
nice.
think will come out of there? Nothing, because
Anointing.
yeah, there will be anointing, people will be praying in tongues, everyone, Bank of Zambia would be on fire. But economically,
Yes.
you go down.
Yes.
Because that's not my specialty. You understand?
Correct.
So I am saying that we have what it takes.
I agree.
The pool of people
Yes.
we can get, yourselves and a lot of the friends and the professors that you know who are Zambians.
Correct.
And the worst part of it is this, I must mention, Professor,
Yes.
I fear for my country. Because cadres have become more powerful than people with knowledge. You know.
Pastor, not to cut you, I want to comment on 2 things. Number 1, the grade 12 thing. My own understanding from a lay person's point of view, I see Form 5 or grade 12 as a minimum in the truest sense of the word. And I suspect the people who introduced that didn't intend for the complexities that seem to have arisen. I think it was purely to say, look, make it such a way that only people who are functionally literate can ascend to this position. So you should be able to, because you're going to pass laws, so be able to read, write, and understand what you are reading and writing. And so for me, Form 5 or grade 12 was, I doubt it was ever intended to be a magical qualification that it doesn't matter what else you have. If you don't have grade 12, forget it. And that is really to raise to a level something that doesn't belong there. I think the intention, what lawyers call mens rea, the intention would have been make sure people who will pass laws can read and understand what it is they are doing. That's
not them coming to you and say, Professor, can I use your email? I want to receive.
Exactly.
I want to receive a document.
Yeah, because he doesn't know how to. No matter how well intentioned he is now encumbered by this.
Yeah.
First, second, you talk about the love for Zambia. I've always talked to myself about this. For 29 years, I've been out of the country. I've just come back. 29 years. But I can't remember any time I ever imagined I could assume a citizenship out there. It never crossed my mind. So I was always amazed when I would see my friends assuming new citizenship outside. For me, it was Zambia. I couldn't imagine walking away from Zambia. I think when I compare other countries to Zambia, whether it's Nigeria or wherever, Indians, Kenya, Uganda, when they go abroad, they have a very strong tie to their country.
Correct.
So they keep sending money back. And I've been, exercising my mind. Why is it? Because for us, for Zambians, when they go out, they can be away for 30 years and never come back. And they are quite comfortable.
They are comfortable.
Very comfortable. So I thought, why is this? Then I thought maybe the reason, and why was I like the other guys, always tied to my country? I would come back straight to the village. I realized one reason is simple. I have my root in the village. My village is near here, so I was always in the village. So I have strong roots. Kenyans, every weekend they are not in town. They've driven to their villages. So they have roots. So when they go to America, their village is still in them. So they can't cut away from their country. Zambians, because of the way the colonial guys worked it, they moved us from the village to the mines. And there was a detachment from the villages. There are many Zambians who have never been to their village. If they were born in Lusaka, they belong to Lusaka. So when they go to New York or Miami, and Lusaka looks like a village, then they just cut off Lusaka and they have no roots, no attachment.
They have no attachment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it means we have to work very hard to keep them attached here, because we have so many who got free education. Pastor, and they are senior guys out there. And we could make use of them. But for me, my heart was always there. That's why I've come back, finally. Because as you said, I was impacting so many countries, from Nigeria to Dubai to South Africa, and very rarely in Zambia. And I was always feeling guilty. I got free education from Zambia, and the guy is benefiting outside here. What can I do for my country? I just had to come back.
See, Professor, I asked you this question. Mr. Director, if you can, please give me Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 23. I'm now speaking as a pastor on national matters.
Yes, Pastor.
Because I want the nation to know that education doesn't change people. If you are a thief in your mother's house, when you go at national level, you'll be seeing the nation
thief
as a house. You become a national thief, because education will just train you now how to move the finances very sophisticated. You become an educated criminal. And we have a lot of them. Give me Jeremiah chapter there. Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 23. Switch the verses with the chapter, Mr. Director. Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 23. Can the Ethiopian change his skin? Or can the leopard eat spots? Can the leopard change its spots?
Never.
Neither can you do good who are accustomed to doing evil.
Evil, exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Director. You see, this is God.
Yes.
Professor, when God says you are corrupt,
Yes.
your heart is corrupt.
Correct.
University of Manchester, not even Harvard can change that script.
No. No.
No matter how qualified you will become.
Correct.
But if you were very, very honest in your mother's home and your father's home,
Yes.
you will be faithful,
Yes.
even in the old
Correct.
age. That's
Correct.
why the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. I remember one day Dad beat me so hard because, you know, we were playing Sojo. You know who I
Yes.
buttons. So I went on my father's shirt and removed the buttons to make sure that I go and play. Professor, Dad beat me so hard. That was the end of my Sojo game because I could not find any other button to go and stick there.
Correct.
But I didn't know that the heart of stealing was going to develop through
Yes.
buttons.
Yes.
And the Bible
Yes.
says if you are not faithful in small things,
You cannot.
you cannot be faithful in
great
big
things. Yes.
So this is national matters.
Yes.
I alluded to this, Professor,
Yes.
that cadres are taking over the running of the nation.
Yes.
The president is there, is doing this,
Yeah.
issuing this,
Yeah.
but the system
Yeah.
sometimes is infiltrated
The
with
deep-
cadres
the deep
who
state.
have no slightest idea
Yes.
how to move Zambia from this level to another level. All they know
Yes.
is to get money in their pocket.
Correct. In other words, Pastor, two things. One is what is called proactive, which means preventive. The other one is reactive, which means corrective. So the preventive one, we have to go to the school system and say, the school system cannot do it on its own. It's only one of the major stakeholders. So the teachers in the school and the whole school infrastructure is only one part. The other part are the parents, and they should be in partnership, and the community. So these three should be in partnership in molding a character. So that as you fill in this knowledge, you are filling knowledge into the right vessel. And this should be a joint partnership between, not just parents have handed over the children to the school system and forget about it. No. The teachers can't do it alone. The parents at home must be in it. The entire community must be in it. But that also speaks to then a community that has an ethos, a culture. And so then when you say, Pastor, cadres have taken over, the word cadre, when I was young and we were in university, it was a rich word. I mean, it was a noun that was not many people could really claim being a cadre, because you had to have a certain philosophy that you have studied to say I'm a cadre. So if you're in UNIP, you knew humanism thoroughly, you knew scientific socialism, and you could articulate it to the masses, then you could call yourself a cadre. You can't just be some ignoramus and say I'm a cadre. No, cadres were very studied in whichever philosophy they are in. They knew it and they could argue. You could really argue intellectually with a cadre. They were mostly graduates, they were college guys, they were educated fellows. Not the way the title has come to be used now. So when you see people misbehaving and they call themselves cadres, it speaks to the three things. The school system, its responsibility, the parents, their responsibility in forming a character, and then of course the community itself in forming a wholesome character of these people we call future leaders. If those three don't work together well, then the so-called future leaders are the cadres you are seeing. You can't even blame them. They're a product of our society. So we really have to go back to the society. How did these guys come about? They didn't just drop from some mountain. They were young boys and girls a while ago. When did they become something else? Where was the school system? Where were the parents? Where was the community? So preventive or proactive, we have to go to those three. Corrective now, that's another one. Where now government, the police, whoever has authority to step in and say, hey guys, I think the trajectory you have taken is not the one we want. As a nation, we would rather you go this way. That's now a corrective one. Because now you are really teaching old dogs new tricks. So you have to go two-pronged. Deal with this situation we have, but don't, if you wait another 20 years' time, the young ones will be these ones. And they will be the future leaders. And then again you realize they are the wrong characters. Because you didn't take steps when they were still being formed. That partnership of those three characters, if you like, those three units. Teachers, parents, and community.
Yeah.
They should work as a team in forming characters. Because without character, Pastor, you have no leadership. You don't even have the right managers without character. You even have the wrong parents because they become parents. But they have wrong character already. They will pass on the wrong character to the children. Then you have a society that will fight generation to generation before it gets it right.
Let me mention this professor.
Yes, Pastor.
I've been privileged with my dear wife, Pastor Victoria,
Yes, Pastor.
to have been your pastor to this day,
Yes, Pastor.
to help shape the character in this professor
Pastor.
and that of your wife and your children.
Yes, Pastor.
Now, when I stand in church, you call me pastor and everything with all the dignity and the respect, which I appreciate so much. And when I stand, I look at what God has done through my life. I'm a pastor of these professors and all this. It gives me joy to know that your character, it's something that I would like you to transmit to other people.
Correct.
I'll come to your books, but I'm very privileged to have you as my church member, but above all, as a Zambian. Like I said, Zambia to me,
Is that your heart?
it even reminds me of a Jewish person when they were fighting between the Arab nations
Yes, yes.
and Jerusalem.
Yes.
You remember there was that talk by the UN that they should split the...
Okay, yes.
They asked one old man and said, what do you think about the battle going on? Shall we split Jerusalem to the Arabs and to... In his broken English, he said, my friend, what are you talking about? Jerusalem is my heart.
How can you break it?
You cannot break my heart.
So Zambia.
As a Jew, Jerusalem has a place.
Correct.
You cannot, you touch Jerusalem, you are touching someone's heart.
Correct.
And that's how I feel about this country.
Perfect.
You know, now, how can you, Professor,
Yes.
become irrelevant? How can you contribute
You become relevant.
to Zambia?
Yes.
Because I know 29 years you have decided to come back, and there was a time you come in church, one moment Professor is here, another moment,
He's gone.
and somebody asked me, Pastor, how often does a professor come to church? I said he spends more time in the air
Yeah.
flying than he spends on the ground. How can you, now that you have left SAMI, you are not visiting professor of these universities, I know you are visiting them, but how can you contribute to Zambia?
It's an important question, Pastor. The first thing where one notices when you come back like this is that if I can walk through Lusaka, nobody knows me, literally, but I can't pass through Nairobi or Dar es Salaam and I don't hear someone honking their car, you know, and hello, prof, in those countries, or Kampala, and sometimes even Pretoria. So outside, even Seychelles, Dubai itself. But now you come home and you discover you have to find your feet because you are not that. You're not that brand that you. I was talking to somebody in Dar es Salaam just recently. He's a big managing director of one of the biggest companies there, and he said you need to come back here because you have a brand here. Now I know when I was leaving Tanzania, I set up a company in Tanzania, the same company that is here, and it's called Mihachi Limited. So I set it up, but the one in Tanzania is not operational yet because I have to go back, get a license, get a tax number, etc. But he said, you need to be here because here we know you. I mean, you just walk into any organization and we would want you to talk to our people. I said, no, but Zambia, like you are saying, Zambia is my heart.
I'm telling
How can you break it? So
Yes.
for me, I came here, set up a company called Mihachi, and what I know best is to talk to people. Talking, mentoring people, coaching them. This is what I've been doing. In East Africa, I coach chief executives, board chairs, board members, managers, all the way down.
But I've had the permanent secretary who came through a summit
I know.
that you taught, and
I
in
know.
some places,
I know.
there are a lot of government officials
true.
that you
Even
taught.
here, at one time we trained about 600 directors and some PSs here. And when Dr. Msiska was Secretary to Cabinet,
Yes.
we were in Livingstone with all the PSs there, but it was a one-off. Unlike places like Uganda, where with the president, the prime minister, the vice president, and all the ministers and their deputies and the members of parliament, I've done that several times. So here it was a one-off, and maybe those who came to East Africa, and I would be so happy to see that at least I'm speaking to a Zambian now. When others are gaining, maybe Zambians also take this. But now I am here. What I have to do is thank you so much for CAMNET, because I can at least come and say, hey guys, I am around in case you are looking for someone.
Yeah.
Motivational speaking, I listen to motivational speakers, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is something I've been doing in those parts. That's part of, but issues of leadership, governance, teams, cultural transformation, culture audit, how to manage change in the pandemic, how do you engage your workers and keep them motivated? And some of them are working remote. How do you still maintain a team? Those are things I've been handling with banks. Last year it was just mostly all banks in East Africa. I was from one bank to another bank, and these are huge banks.
This is what I'm saying, Professor.
Yes, Pastor.
CAMNET TV is not just another channel.
No.
It has managed to put its presence in Zambia.
Correct.
Because of the quality broadcasts that we are putting out there, life-changing
Agreed.
things like you
Agreed.
being here.
Agreed.
I am honored.
Thank
My
you.
wife and I are grateful.
My honor too.
Now, Zambia spends more money, and the companies spends more money to hire South Africans,
Yes.
to hire Britons, to hire, in general, experts
Correct.
to come and teach our people. When our professor from Mungule is right there, who teaches those people out there, you are teaching them out there, and they are bringing knowledge to Zambia.
Correct.
This is what is so painful.
It's a very African thing, Pastor. You mentioned something very important. I don't know how many times I had to train people from those very countries. For instance, I know South Africans were doing quite a bunch of things in East Africa, and in a number of situations, the organization would say, we want to try you out and see whether we can replace the South Africans, because their culture is not fitting in with us, so they are not able to connect. And I took over those courses. The South Africans went. We've had situations where maybe it's some Dutch company training or some British company training, and then they say, can we try you out? And then they never went back to them. So the African thing, I cannot quite understand the concept behind or the mentality behind it. I can come to Zambia now and say, okay, I can do this. So, and then they will discuss price. And I'm always of the view that when we discuss price, we commoditize something very important. My view is that the discussion should always be around value. What's the value of this? What value are you looking for? Not how much is this. If you rush to how much, then you cheapen everything. Because there are some things that you can't put a price to.
Absolutely.
And if you rush to who is the cheapest, then you settle for cheap. Then you have to ask yourself, are we a cheap country? So I can come past and say, well, this is the value I will bring. Say, but you are too expensive. But they will go and pick a Briton or an American or a South African who will charge even much more than that. And they'll be very comfortable to pay it. And the guy is going to talk about Silicon Valley in California, where you've probably never been to the US, you can't even relate to what he's saying. And here is me, I'll talk to you, okay, this is what's happening in Dubai, this is happening in Malaysia, this is happening in the US, this is happening, but of all this is what can work here. Because I've been there, I've learned those things, but I'm able to also think through, because while you are working in the office, I'm thinking, because this is the job I do. I am thinking and reading, then I can come and tell you, my sister, my brother, this has worked in the US, cannot work here in our context. We have to adapt it like this, then it will work. So I'm a glocal. I'm not just global, I'm also local. But no, we would rather someone who comes from there, hits you and leaves, and then you are left wondering, and you want to run back to the same person. So we look at the Chinese. They use their own Chinese. Yeah, go to India. They use the Indians.
You remember, Professor, like I said, no one will take Zambia out of me. But the opportunities, as you know,
Yes,
to
Pastor.
settle in America,
Yes,
to
Pastor.
settle in West Indies, even
Correct.
being offered a place by the head of state
Correct.
in Antigua and
There
the
you-
land.
There you are.
But I said no.
Yeah.
I've never felt
Yes.
I should leave Zambia.
Yes.
And this is why when I speak about Zambia, I speak passionately,
Yes.
without fear, without apology,
Correct.
because
Correct.
I've only got one nation
Yes.
where to live in.
Yes, where you cannot be chased away from.
Where I cannot be chased away from.
Yes.
Now, you remember at one time, Professor, one of my childhood friends, Professor Maskini.
Yes,
I-
we've
I
been in
gave
touch.
you the-
No, we've shared a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got you.
Yes.
I said, Maskini, get in touch with
Yes.
Professor
And we
Munkumba.
talked a lot.
Professor Munkumba, get in touch with
Professor
Maskini.
Maskini, yes.
And your other friend, Professor in the United States.
Yes, yes.
Now, that chap is a childhood friend,
Correct.
Professor Maskini.
Yes.
He's married a Jamaican.
Yes.
Can you imagine where the head of state of Jamaica
Yes.
poached him from Canada,
Yes.
wanting to be the Jamaican bank
Central
governor,
banker, yes.
central bank governor,
Yes,
a
correct.
Zambian,
Correct. Yeah.
a Mambwe by tribe, settled in Canada. And here is another professor from Mungule. You people are changing the lives and the education system
Yes.
of the world.
Correct.
But where you come from, I don't know. But you are not a prophet. It's only us where the Bible says a prophet is not accepted in his
No,
own country.
the principle applies. You mentioned Pastor, but I mean, in Kenya,
Yeah.
it's the Curriculum Development Institute that designs, we speak now, I think maybe they've moved on, but from class 1 to class 6, the Kenyan system, I think, does not have exams now. They're experimenting, just learning. Now, the institute that sets curriculum, the board and the management, they came to Esami, and I was training them.
For Kenya.
Yes. And these are the cutting edge guys coming up with the new education system. And they're the ones who organized that conference of 2,000 guys. And we went to give, and Ghana is way ahead. Rwanda, they started in 2015 on the new system, the new so-called competence-based education system. It's brand new. So for me, that's why I was inputting Pastor. So when I flew into Nairobi, so they sent me a business class ticket, and I fly to go and a keynote speaker. At the airport, I'm given this VVIP tag. There's a Prado, a Land Cruiser with a government driver waiting outside to pick me, and we just almost being police escorted, VVIP thing. And all the time I'm thinking, I should be doing this for Zambia. This thing, Pastor, of having Zambia in your heart can also be a cost to you,
I'm telling
because
you.
I am there, but my heart. And at one time, Pastor, for me, unlike you, at one time I wanted to migrate to the US when I was younger. It got to a point where they invited me for a green card interview. And that's the time I didn't go. By then my mind had moved on. I cannot leave Zambia, go away to America and settle. I didn't even go for the interview at the embassy. I said, no, I think I'm going back to Zambia. And so you go out there, you make a difference. I think you should also think of how can I go back home, see if I can make a difference. And today I had a talk with a friend who told me, no matter how difficult it is for you to fit into the country again, persevere until you break through and make an impact. There are youths to talk to, there are women to empower. So go to the villages and everything.
Sorry about this. Can I put you on the spot?
Yes.
I didn't ask you. I don't know whether I'm making a mistake or not, but the Bible says let your yes be yes and your no be no.
Nay.
There are people who are watching there who want to succeed executives, permanent secretaries or whatever, and one of our viewers is the president himself and the first lady. They watch cabinet and the ministers, they watch this. Can I put you on the spot?
We should.
Is it wrong if I ask you to give the phone number to my director so that he can put it there for people to get in touch with you in Zambia? If it's not okay, I don't want to send you to wolves. You can just say it's not okay, Pastor. But
Oh, sorry.
I would want
Yes, Pastor.
the nation,
Yes.
because there are some people who are change agents in Zambia.
Correct.
They are sitting and watching you and I in the studio, and they would like to have a word with you. Now, instead of them calling cabinet, then I call you, Pastor, can I have that person? Then,
No, I'll give you the phone number, Pastor.
is it okay if you can
It
give
is
me the
okay,
phone
Pastor.
number?
Even as I sit here, I'm still mentoring people from all over the world. They keep calling, so yeah, I would rather Zambians.
Give me the number, and my director is picking up that number,
Okay.
beginning with +260.
Zero.
Mind you that this program
Yes.
goes to the Caribbean islands, it goes to the UK,
Yes.
it goes around the world, and you'll be surprised we have calls from South Africa,
Correct.
Zimbabwe, Uganda,
Yes.
around the world.
Yes.
So people must understand that, it's +260
73
973
562
562
844.
844. Now say it slowly
Okay.
for the sake of my director, because he's writing,
Yes.
and soon it will be there on the scroll, not the scroll, it will be permanently there,
Yes.
so that
Yes, indeed.
people can get in touch with you.
Correct.
I am tired of having a nation which seems to be stagnant. You know, there is something that I say, Professor, you say your phone number.
Yes.
My wife comes from Liverpool, which is Luapula. That's what they call it. She comes from Luapula.
Yes.
But in Luapula, I like one dance there.
Yes.
It's called Akalela.
Okay.
Akalela, you dance it this way, forward, mayo, forward. But when you are saying forward, mayo, forward, you go backwards. You don't go forward, but you go backwards and you are dancing.
Yes.
And they sweat. Forward, mayo, forward, they are going backwards. And I think Zambia is in a forward, mayo, forward mode.
Yes.
But we want this forward,
Yes.
the change.
Yes.
So I would like somebody there to say, Professor,
Yes.
please come and help. Look at my company. You can audit. You are an auditor.
Yes.
You are an accountant. You are everything.
Governance, leadership, change.
Governance, leadership. Let the people
Yeah.
gauge for themselves. Please give me your number slowly again, Mr. Director.
Okay.
Get this number again,
Okay.
starting with plus.
So it's +260 973 562 844.
Again,
+260 973 562 844.
844.
Yes.
Professor, I would want. Now I've heard some phones ringing. Please don't call Professor. He's in the studio with me.
They're calling.
Stop calling. You call him at your own time, okay?
Oh my goodness.
Stop calling. Don't call him now. You are disturbing our conversation. And I would like you, Professor,
Yes, fast.
to be able
Yes.
to establish something for this nation. We are tired of having cheap people coming out of countries to come and get our end
Yes.
foreign exchange?
There's something that the USAID call J2SR, Journey to Self-Reliance, but written J2SR.
Journey
to self-reliance. And I have
Professor, please switch off the phone there. Please, dear viewers, don't call. He cannot answer now. He will answer you in his own time. Like I said, you are disturbing our conversation. I should have given the number last.
Yes.
Mr. Director, please put that number just fixed. That is Professor Munkumba, plus 260-973-5 what?
562
or 562-844.
Yes.
Okay, that is the number scrolling for Professor Munkumba. I can tell you, this man, Zambia hasn't seen anything yet. Mr. President, if you are watching, Madam Vice President, Cabinet Ministers, Permanent Secretaries, without jealousy, without anything, and I must say that without the syndrome of Nichekereko, because that is one virus which is killing the economy, is more deadly than the COVID-19. I'll give you this. So what will you do for me? That thing is killing the nations of Africa. Those of you that are watching this broadcast, I am so delighted to have Professor Munkumba. Where he is, I can tell you that him and his friends, Professor Maskini, Professor Msonda in the United States, and let's put Zambia together. We are well and able to do what IMF is asking us. He writes papers, he advises, he sits on so many boards that IMF and World Bank should not be a thorn in the flesh. You have your own sons from Mungule here. You have your own sons from Senga Hill. Your own sons from Chinsali. Why shouldn't we tap from them?
Pastor, you mentioned something, and I personally remain optimistic about Africa, about Zambia, because we have resources. We can do anything we want. There are challenges, yes, and I think life is like that. Even at a personal level, there are challenges. They are not impossibles. And when you look at Zambia, 40% of the water in SADC, fresh water, is in Zambia. That already means a lot. Our land, I think 60% plus, we can grow anything. Food crops, cash crops, land is there, it's available. Population, 50% are below 30 years. That's a lot of energy out there that can be tapped into. What I see is, again, the way I said, the school system versus parents versus community. It's also now at a national level, how to have a team, a unified team that says, look, since 1964 to today, since 1964 to today, we are where we are here, and we leave a lot to be desired. Forget about all this competition and competitiveness of politics and 5 years. I think the West has the luxury of having to compete every 4 to 5 years.
4 years,
they can do it. They are rich, they have everything. For us, we have to be a little bit more focused than that. Because look at our poverty in the rural areas. But there's land, there's water, there's a market in towns. We both opposition in this case and the government, how to create NGOs or the civil society, the churches, and everybody else, how to come to an Indaba and a round table and say, guys, for the sake of Mother Zambia, what would we want to see in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years? Let's agree on this, and then give whoever is in power and say, now, take us on this route. If you divert, we'll remove you. But if you are doing right, I mean, why not? Because our interest is not just to be in power, but to take us to this which we have collectively agreed. So we put aside all these differences because it doesn't help us. Look, Pastor, it's like we are 5 people climbing a tree. We are climbing a tree. We all can't climb at the same time. And then we discover, because maybe the lowest branch is too high, but we discover if I stand under there, you climb, I do this, you step in my arms and you climb on my shoulders, you may not touch. The third person does that, he will reach the branch, then go up and then bend down, begin to help pull people up. The motive is to get up the tree. That's what we want. It's not who should get there first, but that we must get there. So we work together to climb that tree.
You know what you have said, Professor? My wife and I, together with our team, through Camnet TV, we are working on that national endeavor. We are working on that because, like I've said, whether you are UPND, PF, FDD, whether you are MMD, we go to the same shops,
you are Zambia.
Same hospitals,
you are Zambia.
Same everything.
You are a brother, you are a sister.
Absolutely. We're working on that concept. I'll just borrow that. When the people see the advert for the sake of Mother Zambia.
Yes.
You've just given me the theme. This is what we've been working on.
Please.
You know, because this business of, if somebody sees me with the leader of the opposition party and say Pastor Chilova has become opposition, if they see me with the president, then they say he's PF.
It means now the parties have become too big in our head.
Yeah.
I think Zambia should be bigger than that.
It's been destroyed.
Pastor, every time I met a Zambian outside, oh my goodness, I was looking at my brother, my sister.
Without asking which party or which tribe.
No. You are from Zambia? Oh my goodness. I was looking at my brother, my sister. The parties are artificial. They are supposed to be vehicles to development. That's it. Not vehicles to division. No. We are first of all Zambians, and there must be. This is why I was saying, when you create a community where we have a sense of pride in being Zambian. Look at the Americans. The way the guy will say I'm an American, it's with so much pride, so much depth of feeling. Now, we once were like that, by the way. When you said I'm Zambian, it meant everything. We need to get back to that.
Even when Zambia Airways used to fly to UK.
Oh my word.
You just see that tail.
Oh my word.
Zambian.
Oh my goodness, you just got pieces.
I'm telling you.
Yes.
We were on the first, Dr. Nevas Mumba, myself, and the late Chikwanda, Matthews Chikwanda.
Yes.
We were among the 53 people.
On the DC-10.
On the DC-10 Apple flight to New York.
Yeah.
The first flight.
The big Apple.
The maiden flight.
Yes.
And they gave us those hats.
With Captain Mulundika.
Zambia was with Captain Mulundika and Captain Sikazwe. They flew that plane, my goodness. Here the band is playing. When we were getting on that, we are touching New York. You go to Monrovia, 45 minutes straight into... When we got to New York, you know what they said?
Yes.
We were in these queues with hats, and they said, all the people from Zambia come here. They created a counter. There was not asking like, have you got drugs? It was a maiden flight.
Yeah.
53 on board. And when we were going through, just feeling that you are a Zambian, Jehovah.
We can get right there. We can. That's why I said I'm optimistic. Zambians, I look at our youth in particular, they do not have any of that. For us also, the national service had something to do with it. The way it created you patriotism.
Towards your country.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. And so I carry it up to today. And I believe it can be done, and it will be a worthy investment to create that sense of pride in being a Zambian. And when you look at another Zambian, you see a brother, you see a sister, you do not see an enemy.
You know that right now?
Yes, Pastor.
Joe Biden and Donald Trump, They don't see eye to eye.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you see, if the Arabs on any nation want to touch Trump, you see how Joe Biden
Oh yeah, oh yes. This is the thing.
They just won't let you go. It happened to George Bush.
Yes.
When somebody talked about George Bush and said, you are touching an American.
Yes.
And they say, may God bless America.
Yes.
We
need to get to that, and it's doable. I think we can do it. It's then the initiative has to be started, and unfortunately, changing culture, changing mindset. One, there's no guarantee of success, and certainly it's not a sprint; it's a marathon. So it has to be planned for, and when you start, you have to be insistent and persistent.
Professor,
Pastor,
we have a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. But before we go on break,
yes, Pastor.
Pastor Victoria and I, my wife, we've been on national agriculture for a long time.
Been following.
You've been following,
yes.
Even when you were out of the country. We believe that agriculture is the way to go. We can liberate this nation financially. We can get out of debt than just hanging on to copper, which is a wasting asset.
Correct.
Have I been wrong or not?
No, Pastor, you are absolutely right. That one of those books which we'll talk about is The Resource Curse. And I was researching minerals, a curse. And why the resource curse is because the countries with minerals seem to be at war, tearing each other and everything. And their other systems, including taxation systems, were very weak because of the ready cash coming from minerals. So they never developed other parts. Agriculture suffers, etc. So they started calling them a curse. But then we look at countries that have developed using minerals. So we are like, it cannot be the minerals. It must be something else. And quite often it's a governance issue. How can you make sure that you are getting the benefits from the minerals? But agriculture alone in Zambia, that's gold. It should be able to spur our economic activity to actually develop status just using agriculture. And if you look at countries that did not have minerals like Kenya, they now have some minerals they have discovered, but they didn't work like they had minerals. They developed agriculture, and their economy is several times bigger than ours. I think Kenyan economy is now probably about 95 billion US dollars per annum.
Really?
Now we are 20. And they didn't have minerals they were exporting. It's just agriculture and tourism.
Today, Professor Reda and I, Professor Chibelushi, with Fred, we visited one farm in Lusaka West.
Yes.
And to see the abundance of water at that farm.
Yes.
To see the land which is just there.
Right.
One farm can generate millions of dollars.
And here's the paradox.
Millions
the
of
rural
dollars.
areas are the most poverty-stricken. Yet that's where agriculture
That's where the money is.
And that's the gold out there. So which means just a little tweak, which I think government has started talking about and planning.
Yeah, the
this
president
seventh development plan.
Into,
yes. So tweaking into agriculture without neglecting the mining sector, because it can give you the cash, like a cash cow, into agriculture. But really emphasizing, which means perhaps going back to our cooperatives, so the marketing is not left to just, but having an organized system for marketing, even as they are private players. Organizing the farmers. We can have, populations are growing, Pastor, and the need for food will always increase. The cash crops, there will always be a market, and a growing one. Zambia can develop just on agriculture. I agree completely.
Professor Musongole and I, we went talking and chatting, but we'll get to that. There are two books here that this professor has written. One is called Essential Management and Leadership Toolkit. This book is the one which is being used to train the MBA students.
Yes.
He is a lecturer and he lectures in MBA studies across Zambia and Africa.
Correct, all the way, yes.
All the way. And I was honored as his pastor He put me somewhere there.
At the beginning, yes.
At the beginning, I wrote something there as a forward.
Yes.
I don't have an MBA, but the Lord gave me the grace to write in this book. But you know, people have read this book.
Oh, Pastor, I have been stopped in airports. Presidents, Pastor Dr. Sam Nujoma has it, the second president has it.
And the president of Uganda?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister of Uganda, they all have it.
I've met people
Yes.
who, when I say Professor Mungumba, they say, Pastor, you know that man? I have his book. It transformed
Yes.
my life.
Yes, yes. Even the ZNS commander,
Really?
he has it. He came to my course in Pretoria before
Really?
he became commander of ZNS.
Can you imagine this book? Ladies and gentlemen, get it. All of you studying for MBA and everything that you need. This is the book they are using in most of the universities in Africa, including East Africa, written by a former Mukushi, Mungule resident professor. I like that, you know. You know, Professor, when I talk about the background,
Yes.
where you have come from,
Yes.
it just gives me joy.
Yeah.
Because there are people who say, you know, I grew up in Kablonga, I grew up in Sunningdale, but you look at them, they have nothing to show for it.
Absolutely.
It's not anything, but there is also this book is talking about. Mr. Director, give me this book so that people can read. This one. It's entitled Escaping the Resource Case Through Partnership. The case of Zambia.
case of Zambia.
You took the study of the copper mines in Zambia.
Correct.
Talk about it.
Yeah, because Pastor, I discovered that at one point I discovered that nobody knew exactly how much copper was going out, which was a surprise to me because copper mining in Zambia started before Zambia, 1928. We had already started mining here. So I went from institution to institution, how much copper goes out of the country that time, and I think it was 2014, 13. And I got different figures from each institution, whether it's the Central Statistics or the Central Bank or Ministry of Mines or the Chamber of Mines. They all had different figures. So there was no one single figure. And that surprised me. So we don't know how much copper may be going out. Then there was the issue of what kind of copper goes out. There was copper blisters, copper bars, but it was just going as copper bars. Copper blister has other things in it, but it could be declared as copper, just normal copper, which means it has gold, it has all sorts of things, and unaccounted for. And I was like, wait a minute. But that was not different from Tanzania at the time, before Magufuli. Same thing. They didn't know how much gold was going out of the country. As I speak, Pastor, there's a revenue authority guy in the mine.
Really?
Oh yeah, when they are loading, he's counting. So
Really?
they don't just get reports from the mine that we sent so much. There's a taxation guy there. I hope that Zambia has reached that, because there was a project here from Europe that was helping us to come up with a system where we will know how many trucks carried how much copper out of the country. I hope now that one is functional. But at that time, I realized, and then I also realized that the stakeholders, whether it was the disaster part, the vice presidents, in case the mine releases poisons into the river. So the VP's office was in, Ministry of Mines, Community Development, Revenue Authority, Ministry of Finance, Central Bank, Geological, all these ones. I found that they didn't have any unit that brought them together, so that they are talking together at that time. So some of the recommendations in this book was form a unit as follows, so that you all speak one language. The Central Bank too there.
And this book is being used by foreigners.
Yeah.
It's being used by
It
international.
was published in the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands.
Yeah.
It's being used by the so-called developed countries. They get the mind of the professor from Zambia. They come to even educate us. This is painful.
And there are 4 others I'm writing.
Professor, this is painful because just this book,
Yes, Pastor.
the people that I've met
I know.
who have read this
Yes.
for their MBA,
Yes.
I'm going to ask my director, because this is too much, I'm going to ask my director, I'm a patriotic Zambian, I'm going to give the Electoral Commission a thumb up by asking for their advert about extending the voters' registration.
They have?
Verifying. Yes, they
verifying.
have.
Okay.
I want the Zambian people to know that the ECZ has extended this to the 7th.
Okay.
So please verify and remember to mask up, remember to sanitize. I'm a Zambian. And I want God to bless this nation.
Amen.
Mr. Director, just give us that advert about the ECZ, and then when we come back, our phone lines will be opened, because I want the nation to talk to Professor Munkumba. And remember, you were born for greatness. Zambia, we can make it, we will make it, and the economy of Zambia will bounce back. Let's just work together. Don't give up. Don't fight your brother. Don't criticize your brother. You know, let's come together. This is our nation.
Oh, yeah.
Let's put parties aside. I know this is a year of elections, but for the sake of Mother Zambia,
remain sober.
Jehovah God. Mr. Director, give me that advert. I want the people of Zambia to know.
The Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, has extended the physical inspection of the Provisional Register of Voters for the purpose of verification of voter details. The extension of the physical inspection exercise will be conducted from the 3rd to the 7th of April 2021. If you are a registered voter and you need to correct details on your voter's card, go to the designated registration center and have your details corrected. During the inspection period, a registered voter can replace a lost, damaged, or defaced voter's card, transfer from one polling station to another, make a claim to be included in the Provisional Register of Voters if they were omitted. Remember to carry your voters and green national registration cards to inspect your details. If you are replacing a lost voter's card, carry your green national registration card and a police report. It is your right. It is your vote. Because 2021,
it is your
time to vote. 2021, let's verify. This message is brought to you by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ.
That's how much I love this nation, Professor, that I can bring ECZ because I know people should not be voting because they have rice in the pot. They should not be voting because there is this, but they should have emotional intelligence.
Yes,
like you said, emotional
commitment.
Yes. To the nation.
Correct.
Once we do this, like I've been saying, please vote Christians.
Yes.
Vote people who you know that he has a pastor. He is a professor with his wife and family. I am their pastor. He sits there, he's my professor. I'm now listening. Come Sunday, I start preaching to him and he gets the message as it is. Let me tell you something. This man, there are several decisions that he has said, Pastor, what should I do? He's a professor. It's not that he doesn't know. It's not that he can't do without my wife and I. He can. But he also has respect and honor to say, I'm my pastor. So, Professor, I am so delighted.
My pleasure.
Having you on set. The lines are open. If you want to reach the station, call +260 968 675 273. The first one, this one here, if you call the number here, you reach the studio and you are going to contribute to the nation. The one on the middle, in case you don't reach us by phone, you can text, you can send a text, or you can send your WhatsApp message, whatever, we will pick it up. But I believe, Professor, that Zambia is a great nation.
I agree.
No matter where the Kwacha has gone, I'm still of a strong belief that the Kwacha will bounce back to where it's supposed to be.
It was in the thousands and it dropped.
Yeah. Professor Reda,
Yes,
said something to me on this station.
Correct.
He said, you know, Pastor, that Egypt developed because of agriculture.
Oh, yeah.
They became a force to reckon with because of agriculture.
They are a desert.
Today, Egypt is a force to reckon with. Israel is a force, a tiny nation, which can go into Zambia, I don't know how many times, 15 times.
And it's a green place.
And they send fruits.
Fruits to Europe.
They send flowers.
To Europe.
They send everything. The late, may his soul rest in peace, the late Museva, one day we were at the golf club and Zambia lost Mo Africa Cup. And you know this issue of losing a 50 Mo Africa Cup. And one day he sits at the golf club and he says, Pastor, now the way he said it, I don't know. Where, Lord, are we missing it? Hello, good evening. Good evening.
Not coming through.
You are through to Camnet TV, Mr. Engineer. May I have the phone calls, please, coming through. Hello? Okay, while the technical people are sorting out these machines to get the people through in the studio, what steps must we take as a nation to have our economy recover?
Good question, Pastor. Excellent question. There's a lot that we can do, some of which must be immediate, medium term, and then long term. Personally, I always believe...
Hello? Good evening, sir. You are who? Mulangisha? Mulangisha, please go ahead, Bishop, and speak to the nation.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to appreciate you, Pastor.
Amen.
Professor on the panel.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I want to pray that the programs of this nature were there like 5-10 years ago. We would have been somewhere right now. On the same, we want to appreciate that. We say that please keep bringing up people that profit. And many others like him, so that as a nation, I believe with you that we can bounce back and we can do even much better.
Amen.
Than all the other nations around. Because
Agreed.
we are not just at the moment landlocked, but we are land-linked.
Land-linked. Yes.
Absolutely.
And so it is very important that we have, such forums, not that they end just in talking, and I know it cannot be, knowing you and the professor, but let that be implemented, and we are here to support it.
Amen.
Lastly, I want to know how I can get that book. Thank you.
Bishop Mulangishe, you should call Professor Munkumba. I have put his line there because Camnet TV cannot be sending the books to Mongu, to Chinsali, to what. He will know how to get them there.
Absolutely.
If you are in Lusaka, you can't get them, we will ask him to drop some copies for us at the Camnet TV, then you can pick it up. I like what you said. I heard one South African man.
Yes, Pastor.
He said he's the top speaker in America, in South Africa, a black man. And he said, I'm the highly paid person in South Africa. He says, I don't negotiate price.
No.
I talk value.
Yes.
Can you imagine this book?
Yeah.
Is the one universities are using
Yes.
to train the MBA guys.
Correct.
And you are studying for your MBA.
And it's recommended by the accrediting body.
And it's commended by the
accredits universities.
So somebody will twist your mind and say, Professor, how much is it? Can I start paying in installments? Or can you reduce it for me?
Exactly.
Let me tell you something. People of Zambia, if you value your future, get these 2 books which are being used by the international bodies to educate Zambia and to advise the Zambian government from the books written here by this professor. We are so grateful. Now, thank you, Professor Bishop Mulangishi. He was just saying that we wished we started this 10 years ago, but we are here. Now, how can we transform our nation? I still want to hear from you.
Yes, best. I think Zambia has made the first attempt. I've just come back. I'm not sure where we're missing it, because if you want to go to London, no, if you want to travel, first you settle where you want to go to. The where question is paramount. You don't just start running around raising money when you don't know where you are going to. How do you know how much to raise? So you start with where do we want to go. Now we have Vision 2030. Personally, because of changes that would have happened since that was set up, I would wish we could revise Vision 2030 and perhaps even make it Vision 2040 and revise it. That destination will determine a lot of things. So we work from the future backwards. I think Malawi is trying to tie theirs to Vision 2063, which is for the African Union. But I know there's 2036 for Botswana, 2040 Uganda. Uganda had 2030. They went to 2040, 2030 Kenya, 2025 Tanzania. But I believe we should go to the end. This is the Zambia we want to see by this period. The one which came during the Mwanawasa era, I think, needs to be relooked. So much has changed.
Let's pick up this call, Professor.
Perfect.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
How are you, sir?
I'm all right, and how are you, sir?
Permanently blessed. Who are we talking to and from where?
This is Sinkara Mtemwa, calling from Sinabumwe.
Who?
Sinkara Mtemwa, calling from Sinabumwe.
Sinkala Mtemwa.
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead and speak to the nation.
Okay. So, I just want to ask you, I heard you talking about how the culture came. So, what I want to ask is, how can we beat the issue of culturalism? Since Zambia is a Christian nation, and what I've heard, what you have said is this, long time ago, Zambia, there were those people with the knowledge and with the people who have been to school, people who are educated. That's what you have said. Now this time we find that somebody just a younger or somebody just, he goes down to himself, wants to treat people, they call him a that. So how can we end this problem?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Sinkala wants to know.
Yes.
How can we put an end to this gadadism?
All right. I have my ideas. Like I said, I don't really blame the young men and the young men involved. I don't. What I think could be done, because it's cadres are in all parties, so it means they're a common factor. Therefore, it means we can't say, let PF talk to its cadres, let UPN... No. We need to have a uniform culture of what a Zambian cadre should look like or act like, regardless of the party. After all, they also cross parties.
Absolutely.
So today I support PF, tomorrow I go to UPN, and vice versa. But the cadre mentality must be uniform. It's possible to even come up with a curriculum for cadres. So I don't care whether you stopped in grade 7, or you went up to Form 3, or you were Form 5, or you're a graduate. You must go through a certain curriculum. Then, so you join as a cadre, yes? Then we put you through this training. After all, we don't expect you to be a cadre for 2 months. You'll probably be with us as a party your whole life. And then maybe we even move you from there to become an MP, then you are the minister, because some of them rise. So we can have a curriculum. Anyone who is called a cadre, not just someone who wakes up tomorrow, I can't find a job. I'm a cadre.
Smoking ichamba, I'm a cadre.
Who made you a cadre?
UPF, I'm a cadre mu UPND.
So you are self-proclaimed cadre. No. All of those youths who come and say, me, I belong to this party, register them, put them through a curriculum, and make that curriculum uniform so that all the party cadres, all the parties together, all their cadres attend the same, go through the same curriculum. And then they are taught patriotism.
And probably they go to the same school.
That's what I'm talking about.
The same.
Yes.
I mean, same class.
So the battle of pastor becomes a battle of wits, a battle of minds. So when they are arguing, they will debate. Not pick a panga to hack someone. No. Debate with that's what cadres were. That's what cadres were. You could debate. If I say I believe in socialism or scientific socialism, another one says no, me I believe in capitalism. Or now you debate. It's idea to idea. But to do that, put them through a training. Create a cadre. We don't have that. I can just wake up tomorrow and say I'm a cadre of this party.
Just get it.
Exactly. Yes, indeed.
I'm a cadre.
Yes, but maybe I'm just a criminal who even escaped from some other town. I come to a different town, I'm a cadre. But I may have a crook where I've run from. So
for me to kill a person, it's not easy. I mean, it's not difficult because
that's
where
what
I
I've been
come
doing.
from,
I've just put on a T-shirt that bears a certain party, and somehow that party accepts me as their cadre. On what basis? So my belief is, this is and there could be better ways, but I believe that all the parties should come together, agree what a cadre should look like, and it's not an impossible thing to work with curriculum guys, come up with a curriculum. It will be a skill actually, and you create patriotic people now. These are the ones who become leaders before long.
And the ones who should start that class are party secretary generals.
Indeed.
In every political party.
It will be good for them because this is
with their leaders.
This is the pool out of which their future leaders, the councillors, they will come from this pool. So train them, and they should go to a common school. They come out of there, they go to PF, they go to UPND, they go to economic, FDD, PP, whatever, but they all went through the same material. And when they meet, they will say, have you forgotten what we were taught in class? It's like the way we came through national service. After that, you can go anywhere, but that discipline, it sticks you, and you see a comrade. Never mind what party they are in. Because once you passed out together, these are comrades. They need to go through that.
Professor, let's pick up some text messages.
Yes.
If they are there, Mr. Director, because this national matters today, it's loaded like any other. Or let's pick up a call. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. It's as quiet. Okay, give us the
text.
Give us the text, Mr. Director, if they are there. And this is what we call development. Professor, I'm thanking you for encouraging and a wonderful word.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I am a product of a SAMI and tutored by our own professor in Intake 30.
Yes.
You tutored them?
Yes.
What's that, Intake 30?
Because we started from Intake 1, so.
Yes. Pastor Chiluba, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Professor Munkumba. Great wisdom we are getting from Professor. May the Lord use Professor Munkumba and many others to restore dignity in our nation and get back our pride as Zambia. Surely, Zambia is a great nation. I'm Zulu in Chipata.
Amazing.
What do you think of that?
Amazing, amazing. And I think it's possible. It's doable. We will get there.
Good evening, Professor. I'm so delighted to hear you on Camnet TV. You taught me when I was studying for my executive MBA. I still remember the rich knowledge you impacted into me. I am still reading your materials you shared with us in intake 15. God bless you.
Thank you.
Are you hearing this, Professor? So you duplicated yourself. The people you've been teaching MBAs around the world,
I know,
including Zambians, there's intake 13, 15.
All the way past.
Let's pick up this call. Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
This is Bishop Paul Bupe.
Bishop Paul Bupe, man of God, how are you?
I am very fine. I just
This is Bishop Paul Bupe here in Lusaka, and he's one of the academicians. Please go ahead and speak to the nation.
Professor, it's indeed a pleasure. The information is appreciated. Your suggestion to give orientation to others is right on time. I also would like to suggest that in that curriculum, we include paradigm shift for the top leadership. The reason is that the paradigms are in the subconscious, and then there are some responses that come from there. Let us do what we do. So if we can have leaders who have been wired by poverty, they have nothing they can do about it because the time comes automatically.
Yes.
I therefore suggest that we have orientation or training, concerning paradigm shift. After psychological counseling somehow to be able to fight this problem. Of course, we have that you can give the spiritual aspect. The psychological part of it has been neglected for too long. I think that's my suggestion.
Have you heard that suggestion from the bishop?
What the bishop raises is crucial, and I've had the privilege of, and something I think should be happening soon after every election in Uganda. I'd go and train the members of parliament because they are new MPs. We vote for them and we assume they can lead, but they need certain skills. So Uganda, I would go talk to the new MPs and then tell them these are your targets. So I'll come back in 5 years' time. Prove to me that you have really made a difference. So these elections that are coming in August, soon after elections, all those voted for must undergo leadership training.
This is what is calling the paradigm shift.
Paradigm shift. A paradigm is a blueprint, is a way of thinking, is a mindset, and it determines. It's in your subconscious. It can lead to either self-sabotage. So you keep taking actions that sabotage yourself. So you want to prosper, but you keep doing things that make you not prosper because of the way you are wired. So a paradigm shift means you kind of get out of the box, begin to think differently, see things different. So, okay, a glass is half empty, you see it as half full. What is a problem, you see it as an opportunity. But to have that ability, it's a mental shift, it's a psychological shift. So some training is needed. And now I hope that after the elections, I could have an opportunity to talk to all the way. I mean, I would love to have the president sitting, the minister sitting, the deputies, the members of parliament, and just go through 2-3 days. Don't even go back to your desk immediately. Come on, this is a serious thing. Let's first of all walk through this. At a personal level, do you have a personal vision yourself? Do you have a personal mission in your life? How can you do it for the country if you don't have one for yourself? So I'm amazed. I go past that from Nigeria to South Africa. I ask basic questions at a personal level. I find they don't have it. Then I'm like, so how are you managing to do it for a big organization when at your personal level you do not have this? And what will you pass on to your children if you do not have this? So he's right. We start with leaders. And for me, I never assume, Pastor, that anyone who is in a position is a leader.
No,
I don't assume that.
Yeah.
Because to be a leader, you don't even set out to lead. You set out to make a difference. And then people begin to follow you. By your influence, you are now leading. It's not a position. You don't even need one. But thank God if you have a position, because that makes it very easy, because it gives you power. So you can really lead many people. But you must become a leader first yourself. It's about being before doing. That's why, Pastor, we are human beings, not human doings. It's first of all being, and then I do. So, and if you're a political leader, the people you impact are so many.
Absolutely.
If you mess up a lot of lives. Your responsibility is huge. So I would wish they would seek every skill there is in a toolkit in order to do a good job. So you leave a legacy behind. So in other words, you need a personal legacy yourself. As you need a personal vision, personal mission, you need to become a brand yourself. So that you can go on to produce other egos who brand others. But it starts with individuals. And anyone who is aspiring to become an MP now, those people, if they ever win, don't send them to the office or to the constituency immediately. They may have already inert leadership, but we are dealing with what is called a VUCA environment. VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous environment. Even I can't see everything. I might need somebody to speak into my life. So they need to go through something so that they have the same mind. Now, you cannot be a leader, Pastor. I am a leader. He's a leader. But if we are going to go to serve one purpose, we need to have consensus.
A common goal.
Common purpose, common mind, a team. And that doesn't happen accidentally. We must go through the same retooling. And there are many ways of doing it, but training, even just a speed training, is one way. Mentorship, coaching, those things. I ask a lot of people, and they think they don't need training. They say, oh, I've been doing these things a long time, I don't need any training.
I know.
Then I know this one is already a wrong person in the right place. Because even where I am here, I keep attending courses. Sometimes, Pastor, I'm on a bus. On a bus, we were going to a national park. And I was on a phone, I put the earphones. My friends didn't know I was attending a course in the UK by Zoom. But we were on a bus. By the time we arrived, I walked out of the bus, went a few meters because the course was going on. We had broken into groups, so I was now participating. So my friends saw me walk some meters away, and I'm talking loudly. They thought it's a phone call. I was attending a class. I'm still learning. I'm still studying.
I mean, even us, my wife and I have been learning, we've been attending conferences, and I invited Dr. Francis Mouse.
Yes.
You heard him.
Yes.
And these 3 times that I've invited him in Zambia, the things that he has brought, they are new. I can't claim that I know about Idols Riot, about Otters. I've been a pastor since 1982. But I'm still learning.
In December, Pastor, in Tanzania, I had a class of reverends. PhD guys, but they're reverends. And I was mentoring them. And when I finished, I told them one of my goals is to run courses for church leaders, pastors. And I told them, you are the first class I'm taking. They were so happy. They said, we need follow-up classes. They couldn't believe it.
These are PhD holders.
And they are all reverends. In the Lutheran Church. And I took them through that. We opened in prayer and we finished the classes in prayer. And it was an amazing thing. First of all, it was easy to teach them because the spirit was very free. They are all reverence, no resistance. And I taught them. Here I was teaching these people who are men of God, but I was teaching them leadership. Paradigm shift, the modern management approaches, how to lead a flock, because your flock are really your customers in a way, they are your clients. How do you make sure they remain engaged? That's what we're talking about. Emotional intelligence issues.
Let's pick up the text messages and the phone calls. Dear Camnet TV viewers, I'm your pastor, Pastor Moses Chiluba, and Professor Munkumba, a man that God has blessed with academics. Good evening, Pastor Chiluba and Professor Munkumba. Enjoying the program. We missed it by stopping the program that our first president, Dr. Kaunda, started the Kanakantapa, Kambilombilo, where youths were doing agriculture.
Yes, that's
before we pick up another text.
Yes.
What would you say to this comment?
Yeah, because he said Dr. Kaunda started something.
Yes.
When we stopped, we missed it. I mean, this is what I was talking about. Even just all those companies that went away, we were so far ahead. I don't know where we would be by now, because we would be industrialized. But so there was the youth and the agriculture thing. Remember,
where you would say go back to the land.
exactly, go back to the land was a big thing. And by the way, that time, the people in town were resistant to go to the land. They are not now. Now people know different. They really want land. So now it would be so easy.
Yeah.
Go back to the land. People were refusing. They wanted to be in town. Now people want to go to the land. So yeah, we missed it. But the Chinese say the right time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. And the next best time is now.
It's now.
It's now. So if you missed it 20 years ago, there is now. So
We
do
can
it
plant.
now. Yeah. In 20 years from now, you'll be enjoying a lot of fruits.
And the beauty about planting a tree like avocado, apples, even if you are old, those are not your fruit. The children coming.
Absolutely.
We should have the generations
So
after.
we can go right back to that program and run it. And I believe the concept of cooperatives, I don't think it should be dismissed yet, because it worked pretty well. Farmers knew. We used to take maize to the cooperative, numbered the cooperatives, and they tell you come on this date for payment, and on that date you were paid. Then we come to Kanjombi for shopping. So it was very organized.
You know, Professor, may the Lord bless this great nation of
It is.
Zambia.
It is.
I was so blessed last week, Mr. Kabwe, my brother in marriage, and we went to livestock there.
Correct.
And just when I stood, I was answering a phone. A lady walks to where I was. And he says, Pastor Chiluba, you have no idea what you have done through Kamne TV. I'm not a farmer by profession, but I've been listening to Kamnet TV about owning land. Then she says, have you seen this truckload of drips? They are going to Mukushi. I own a very big farm
And that place is beautiful.
because of Kamnet TV.
Wow.
Now just imagine that testimony of a person saying, here is a truckload of drips.
Irrigators.
I'm not a farmer, but I've been hearing
And
what
they're
you-
marketing.
I'm telling you.
It's going back to the land.
I'm telling you, it is these things, Professor. We can make it.
It is possible.
We will make
It's
it.
possible. And in 5 to 10 years' time, we would be looking back and, we've come a long way already.
My goodness. Shall we take another? Please keep on phoning. The number to call is there on the screen. Good evening, Professor. Is there a possibility of also mentoring even students from colleges, universities, and employees in companies so that the mindset of leaving employment becomes an opportunity, not a misfortune in productivity? Thoughts? This is Zulu from Chinsali.
Yeah, I have a mentorship program.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a mentorship program. I believe in mentorships because it is the quickest way to growth. You don't have to make the same mistake that everybody made. So you learn from others, which is how mentorship works. The very education system we are talking about did not start the way it is now. It was about apprenticeship. So if you're an expert in something, you were given students. They saw you work. They learned from you. They went on to do the same thing. That's how education used to be long ago. So I believe in mentorship, and I have mentored a lot of people. So once it's a pick my number, if it's a university, they can organize a group.
A university.
And then they become my mentees, and I will put them on my program. It's doable. If it's an individual, they can call my number. We enter into a contract. We can have a 1-year contract, 6 months, 9 months, and after that it can be a lifelong if they're interested of mentorship.
My goodness.
Yes.
Hey, I'm telling you, thank God for the church that we pastor.
Yes,
You people.
Yes,
Because without you people, there would not have been Kamnet.
Indeed, the flock versus the shepherd.
You see, and we thank God for my wife who is managing this station professionally
Absolutely.
and wonderfully. Let's pick up this call. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Pastor. How are you?
Permanently blessed. How are you, sir?
Okay, thank you. This is Chikupa
Mr. Who?
From Livingstone.
Mr. Who?
Chikupa.
Chikupa?
Yes.
Mr. Chikupa from Livingstone.
Livingstone.
Please go ahead and speak to the nation.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, my brother.
Thank you. I'm calling to appreciate you for this program. It's been really helpful to us, and so I followed your program very well. In fact, I'd like to present your professor.
Thank you.
Not easy to become a professor.
Thank you.
In fact, I'm surprised to see a professor with still energetic. I followed the program very well. I like the fact where you said we need to have a change of mindset, not to get the part of reactive but proactive. Yes, it says that they need to take they need to correct and
To prevent.
yes, also to prevent, yeah. So I like that part. Sure. And now just to I don't want to sound controversial. The majority of us here we are willing to develop, but to develop the nation in our country. So it's very frustrating here to work hard, work extra hard. With all due
With due respect,
So sorry that
he'll probably come back
yeah,
because he was coming to the main issue.
he was coming to the main issue. Well, that was a phone call from Mr. Chikupa in Livingston. Please give us the text messages back to back, and in the few minutes as we wind down, may the Lord bless this great nation of Zambia. Can Professor share with the nation where we got it wrong as regards privatization? Please say something about this.
Yes, absolutely.
Because when we were talking about privatization, Professor, I wanted to let you know, one of my friends said, I like Zambia because you are too fast. Britain started privatizing in 1966.
They are
still privatizing.
Exactly.
But Zambia started in 91. We finished our assets. Within years, we had sold. Could it be that we understood privatization more than the Britons themselves? And I don't know.
No. Okay. Where did we get it wrong? The question itself is premised on perhaps a wrong premise, that we are the only ones who are in the wrong and we could have done something else. So that's why I talked about context. But looking back, with hindsight, everyone is wise. A man who is drowning in the water at that point has to make certain decisions. It's very different from when he's now out of the water. Now, those of you who are watching now, say he should have. Even people who love soccer a lot, he should have kicked it like this. But if you were there, you probably have broken your leg missing the ball. So, looking back now, I think two things should have happened. Number one, we should have set aside certain companies as being strategic and never to be privatized. Certain areas we would have said these ones will not privatize them. Yeah, they are strategic. Just commercialize
companies
them.
Like Zamefa.
Indeed, just commercialize them.
Yeah.
The rest of the companies we could have said, sorry, can't sell them as is. We first commercialize. So make sure the management is right, make sure the systems are right, they have strategies, they've got performance indicators, all those things are right there. Then they begin to pick up well. It's the way we do, if you're going to sell a car, you want to fatten it first before you sell it, because it fetches better. So you don't go sell shells of companies.
You wash the engine.
Yeah, exactly. You
buy the rim
repaint
tires
the car.
and
It has some dents, you repaint it. As I'm selling the car, this paint looks very new. I think he has painted, repainted. We needed to commercialize. But this is me now looking backwards, sitting in a studio calm in this year now, 2021. But at the time it was happening, there were so many other things that were different from the way things are. So yes, we went wrong in that we privatized very quickly, we privatized everything, and we privatized them, most of them as shell companies. And the other bit, our negotiation capacity was weak. Yes. And okay, I mean, it's complex. But for instance, if some of the advisors to government included part investor and advisor. If I'm not mistaken, the World Bank was investing through their investment arm, but the World Bank was also advising us at the same time. Now, that's only the World Bank, but there were many other players. So the people who are coming to buy the companies are coming from abroad, but the people advising us come from abroad. Think about conflicts there. I mean, if we have a reserve price, they probably know it before they come to negotiate.
Absolutely.
I trained a lot of people in East Africa even up to last year, on how to negotiate. Tanzania Ports Authority, I was training their board and management, because Chinese were coming in to set up part of the port, the wharfs, and they were going through negotiations. So I put them through a practical negotiation session. I split them into two, and they were negotiating as if these are investors, this is the port. And they were making blunders, and I'm telling you blundered, you know what? They said, but this is what they are doing to us, those guys. I said, yeah, they are catching you like this. So that time our negotiation capacity was very low. And those guys were experts, and they were out negotiating us. So there were a lot of things that we could have done differently when we look back. Unfortunately, we cannot undo what went wrong. Personally, I wouldn't waste a single minute looking at how we missed or what we missed. I would just want to learn the lessons from there. It's Churchill who said those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. But Rathel said those who live in the past cannot be in the present, and therefore they have no future. I wouldn't waste time talking about who went wrong, what went. That's nonsense. Learn the lessons and say, how can we not repeat that ever again? And given where we are now, how can we still develop ourselves? Because lamenting about that time will not take us into the future. But we can learn lessons of what we did wrong and how to avoid it in the future. That's only one side, the negative side. The positive side is, what can we do now so that 20, 30 years from now, our children will not look back and still be lamenting about how those people messed up, which is us now.
Oh, Jehovah. Professor, I'll put you on the spot again.
Yes, sir.
And don't say no. I am passionate.
Yes, Pastor.
You teach entrepreneurship.
Yes,
you
sir.
teach, these are your
bread and
piece
butter.
of cake,
Oxygen,
and a cup of tea.
Oxygen.
Can I quote you for Monday National Matters next week so that you can talk about entrepreneurship?
Sure.
Because we have to start from somewhere.
Yes.
We have to develop. Somebody may be sitting there, I could have been there, but I have no capital.
Correct.
I've good. Can you come next week?
Pleasure, Pastor.
There you have it, Camnet TV. And I asked him privately, he was going to give me maybe some other reasons why he had to be in Namibia or whatever. So let's have a date next week on National Matters. Professor Munkumba will be speaking to you on entrepreneurship, how to start, how to grow your business, and whatever. Invite other people. Let's make a date. Before we go, Mr. Director, no phone call. Please give me back-to-back text messages, because I have got to read some messages. Professor, help me to read as they come back to back.
All right. I'm happy and delighted to have people like the professor in my country, Zambia. One thing that has killed our country is tribalism. We must speak Zambia, not tribe. How can we revamp our economy back to its right path? Chabilo Halupumbu from Dola. How can
Another
we
one,
revamp
maybe
our
we'll
economy?
answer
Yes.
this one next week.
Nice program, Pastor Chiluba and Prof. Munkumba. My cousin, going to the topic, I think what we need is separate politics from administration. Then cadres will join your program. All right, I love that. Yes.
That's a
Because
good one.
administration and politics is 5 years, 5 years. Administration continues.
But
Yeah,
we
I
are just
understand.
talking about education. There is a point also. We can argue that.
Yes.
Right. Good evening, Pastor. I agree with you. Zambia need a nation.
I think national
vision.
Yes.
And endeavor is needed such that any political party which comes in should fit in our national vision. From Mambwe
Yeah.
in Mazabuka.
Yes. Absolutely. Perfect.
Another one, Mr. Director, back to back. Good evening, Pastor Chiluba and the Professor. Good program. God bless you. Grant Chibala
Luansha.
from Luansha.
Yes.
Yeah. Good evening, Pastor and Professor. Very inspiring. I always listen to National Matters. This is the reason I always say that let cabinet be picked from outside Parliament, because we need such people to steer this country. Together we can do it. HJK Mofia from Chinsali.
Chinsali.
Yes.
I drove through there in January.
You see now. Good, Pastor Chiluba and the Professor Sir, I am following the program, and nowadays as people, we are too lazy, I think. We don't want to work. Let's work together. Remy from Lusaka, Mrs. Compound.
Yes.
The last text, Mr. Director, we are into news time. Good evening, Pastor and Professor. Please amplify so much on the tax that needs to be imposed on account for whatever is mined. And we would like to know more concerning agriculture, our abundant land. Bishop Mulambisha. On that note, we must end this program. We are into news time. Professor, my wife and I can only thank you for the time that you've been here. And I believe that the Zambian people and those leaders who are watching, we don't need to engage people from other countries to do the training in Siavonga. I call upon Bank of Zambia, Barclays Bank, I call upon all the banks. You are looking in the face of a man who has been training at a summit, who has been training around the world, 6 degrees, 2 more to come, 8 degrees, out of which there is no one honorary degree like some of us. I'm still looking for one honorary degree. But I want you to know that Zambia, we need people like Professor Munkumba. Even for you with companies, get this man. The number is there, scrolling, and may God richly bless you. Professor, your last word before I cross over to the director.
Thank you, Pastor. As you have mentioned yourself, last year I spent a lot of time training NMB Bank in Tanzania, which is a sister bank to Zanaco here. They have same shareholders in the Netherlands, and we spent months and months all the way to the CEO training them. Now I'm in Zambia, so these banks could really make use of that opportunity. But it's been a pleasure being here, Pastor. I'm so thankful, and I'm grateful to the people who have been calling, people who have been SMSing. It's been a pleasure and a blessing and an honor for me. I look forward to Monday next week. It'll be a great time again, God willing.
Now, because I sought out your phone number,
yes, Pastor.
Me, I'm a pastor. My wife and I we have had times to sleep. And the Camnet TV, we are a bunch of successful people.
Yes.
We've got this inborn greatness DNA to succeed. So you might be receiving phone calls at 02, 01, and even after when we finish,
I'll sleep one eye.
there will be people calling you. On behalf of my wife, on behalf of the leadership of the Healing Word Ministries, on behalf of the technical people on duty tonight, Camnet TV, you are a great station. There is no any other station. I want to say thank you to Professor Munkumba, his wife, his family. We will continue next week. In the meantime, keep watching Camnet TV, because Camnet TV is not just another channel. Bye-bye.
Bye.